Thank David. All right. Hey, I'm going to start with a little audience participation, which is I want to see a show of hands for those of you who have people in their lives who bug the shit out of you. How many of these people are close friends of yours? How many people are family members? That's really interesting. Do you also know that if I asked that same question of those people about you, they'd be raising their hands as well? The thing is, why are these people not funny? Because they all live very misguided lives, and they do things that characters on television and the screen don't do. Why are they not funny? You're the reason they're not funny. It's the judgment. It's this controlling nature. It's your own misguidedness rubbing up against their misguidedness, and it just creates tension. Now, for me, comedy is about a celebration of this misguidedness that we all share as human beings. Now, that means it's authenticity has been brought up. Authenticity for me is the allowance, the celebration of misguidedness, and funny happens when we just not celebrate a misguidedness, but we exaggerate this misguidedness. So I came up from a world of advertising. I started in the theater world as an actor, and made my way into advertising, and now I write and produce. I've done hundreds of radio commercials, and for me, each one is an experiment in human absurdity. And I teach this stuff, and the goal of my classes is not to be funny. In fact, I call the workshops Comedy Isn't Funny, because authenticity for me comes in that exploration of those people that we know and other people in the world, of what they would do, what ends would they go, given their lens of the world. What would they do? This is called taking it to the end of the line. Now, for me, I don't know. I mean, I tried to teach for a long, long time what I do, and I would just sit there and go, well, that's funny. That's not so funny. But I didn't really know what to say. And I started framing it in this world of we're just human beings are doing their best. We know what we know, and a comedic hero is one who completely has no idea what is true for themselves and the world. Let me see. I have no idea what slide's coming up. So, funniness. This is why, to me, funniness is magical. It's a mystery, because it's entirely subjective. And laughter is, authentically, completely involuntary. But there's one thing we do know. Human beings will always fuck up. This human being's idea of solving a problem is right in front of him. He doesn't know boats. He has a misguided view of the world. Now, I have no idea what slide this is. What is comedy, then? Comedy tells the truth about what it's like to be a human being. We're all going to die. We're doing the best we can. We make absurd decisions. We have bought into a society where we follow rules that we didn't write. We were brought up by language. Oh, you're so cute. Oh, you're sassy like your mom. Oh, you're fat. Filling our ideas of who we are, filling this thing called ego. Now, the characters we write and create as writers, performers, or direct as directors, they don't know these blind spots. They assume that this is the world is the way it is. This is what I call misguidedness. So, what is comedy? Comedy is a being. Now, this could be it could be a human being, or it could be an ant that has human characteristics, or a nail. A being unburdened by self-awareness, completely unburdened, doing its best to succeed, who never surrenders. Now, the interesting part of this is that this is practically the definition of tragedy. especially unburdened by self-awareness. For me, tragedy is living a life and not knowing who you are, and then dying. That's the thing. In this, surrendering, the last part in tragedy is not there, because they do surrender to death or to loss of hope. Now, drama is what we're used to in advertising, which is, I'm going to succeed. I didn't know. Great movies have characters who don't know what they've got inside of them. And it's this constant revealing. In comedy, it's the opposite. It's a continuation of, I don't know, but I'm going to keep trying anyway. So, comedy is misguided hope in action. Mr. Bean. Now that scene could go on forever. He could think, I'm going to solve this. I'm going to take a big fork. I'm going to stick my fork in the soap, and he picks it up out of the sink, but because he's living with lack of awareness, he's going to grab the soap with his hand, and the whole thing's going to start all over again. This is why, TV serials that nobody in Seinfeld or any television show, American television show, they never learn. That's why the show keeps on going. If they ever woke up, show's over. The comedy is dead. We often, in my classes, watch Ricky Gervais in The Office. It's really, really interesting who loves that show and who hates that show. If you ever watch his character of David Brent, some people find it so uncomfortable to watch him because he thinks he's a great businessman, a comedian, a musician, an inspiring speaker, all this stuff. He's none of those things. And there are some people who can let go. Now that's what I want to talk about, is this idea of letting go, this idea that with the characters we create, characters that we perform, to be aware of this judgment within inside of us that says either, this isn't funny, I'm going to make him funny, which leads to all sorts of bizarre behaviors. But with any human being, because they have a lens of the world that if they go to the end of the line of what makes sense to them, that's where comedy goes. That's called the end of the line. So, traits of a comedic hero. Blindness. That's this idea of misguidedness that we talk about. It's the not knowing. By the way, I was just thinking that I think most comedic characters have two things in common. One, they're all stuck at age 12. Watch any show, watch any comedic hero you've got that you love. He's about 12, he or she is about 12 years old, caught between being a child and being an adult, filled with confusion. And that most comedic characters, not to get too heavy, are all looking for love. They're all looking for a form of love, validation or respect or even love itself. And they don't know that love is inside of them. Once they do know, once they are empowered, it becomes an entirely different thing. You lose that tension. So blindness, so arrogance. Arrogance isn't hubris. It's that sense of I'm right. It could be hubris, but it's this sense that in spite of misguidedness, that I don't even know, that I'm right. How's my time? I read an article in the Psychology Today about the people who stay in therapy. And on the spectrum of psychological disorders, you've got neuroses on one side, and you've got character disorders on the other, and everything in between. Neurotics, I'm responsible, it's me. I did something, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I have shame. To narcissist, which is, you are wrong, you did this to me, you. Now, of course, the article said, of course, 90% of people who stay in therapy are neurotics. They take some kind of responsibility for themselves. Comedic characters are basically some form of narcissists. They blame the world. Blame is so big in comedy. It's not my fault. I am going to show that I am right, in spite of all the evidence that comes flying at them as human beings that they cannot see and they cannot accept. Industriousness. I love this. Comedic characters are industrious. They don't stop. They can't stop. They believe so strongly in their blind spot and their arrogance that if they did stop, that would lead to surrender, and that would be a completely different thing. That would become tragedy. And optimism. Optimism in comedic characters is beautiful. This is going to work this time. Didn't work last time. I don't even remember last time. But this time it's going to work. And this doesn't work, it's always going to work. Two ducks in the air. One says, it's that time of year when guys randomly explode. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. These ducks living in misunderstanding. You know, the great thing is that I imagine if the duck saw that man with an iron rod in his hand, he is not connected to why everybody explodes at this time of year. So, I'm going to play you some spots, some radio spots that I've produced over the years. And because they're radio spots and usually people are driving cars or knitting, I don't even know I'm up here, so I'm just going to stand awkwardly off to the side while the spots play. Just to give you an idea of what I've done in advertising to try to bring these ideas to life. This was a campaign I did years ago that was a big hit. It cost nothing to produce. By the way, it features the great Jim Crenna, who passed away recently. He was a man who I worked with many, many times. Wonderful improvising comedian. Blind Arrogance. Take a listen.
Paolo has just enjoyed his fabulous meal of capellini al pomodoro at Prego, the restaurant. He pays the bill and makes his way toward the bar. Everyone admires him, or so it seems to Paolo. He is on the prowl. He is a cat, a panther. He is Paolo. Does he care that his fly is down? No, he doesn't care. He doesn't know, so why should he care? He waves to the Prego staff and calls them by name. Giancarlo, Giuseppe, Roberto. They do not answer. These are not their names. But Paolo is pleased. He believes he has made an impression on the leggy brunette perched at the end of the bar. She is kittenish, thinks Paolo, but I am the bigger cat. A lion, thinks Paolo. She looks up. What is that she sees? Is it the blueness of his eyes? The strength of his chin? No, it is the spinach caught between his teeth. It has been there for hours. Prego, Union Street. See, be seen eating.
You know what's fun about this is that I had this great client who understood that I was making fun of his core customer base. And that he understood that the core customer base, like any human being who sees a representation of themselves on the screen or over the radio, would say, listen to that fool, look at that fool. People don't see themselves. And the great thing about this character of Paolo is that he thinks that he's God's gift to women. What he doesn't know is he's walking around with spinach in his teeth. It's fairly simple. This is a campaign, food.com. This is really inappropriate. Oh, listen.
I was born with a foul mouth. It's not a disease or an illness. I just love cursing. You know, people say, like, good morning, Trish, and I go, well, you asshole. It feels good. And my mom, she doesn't give a shit. She's been hearing words like, you asshole, suck my off, and sucker, since the day I learned to speak. It does, however, affect my goddamn public life. Like, I really can't go out to restaurants. You know, where's the goddamn ladies' room? Swipe? That's where food.com saved me.
Okay. Yeah, it was really fun. It was listening to the auditions of like 100 really nice middle-aged women just cursing like sailors. And it was clear that, that this actress was going to get the part because she didn't see the joke. Her character, the way she portrayed it, didn't see that there was an inappropriateness. She did it without shame. This is a campaign did for Duluth Trading. By the way, this is just your basic advertising trope of people, marketing people trying to come up with a big idea. We see it all the time. And we did it over and over again. It wasn't funny. And we realized that we were playing the characters like they were idiots. Like they knew they were idiots. They played this with shame. Their ideas were like, I don't know if this is a good idea. And then we stopped and said, what if we all pretended that each one of us thought we were the smartest person in the room?
Settle down, people. We at Duluth Trading need to come up with a name for our jeans that have extra room in the crotch to accommodate a man's business when he crouches. No bad ideas. Gibbons?
Nut pouch.
Nah, too squirrely.
Nard yard.
Too rhymey.
Loin layer.
Too haremy.
Coin purse. Purse.
Too redundant.
Love apple basket.
Too fruity.
Tater tots lodge.
That doesn't make any sense.
Dangler den.
I actually like that.
How about the over?
I can't believe you just said that.
Gooseberry surprise!
I don't even know what that means.
I know, prune room.
Don't be ridiculous. Wait a minute. Something room.
What about ballroom?
Ballroom jeans. Mitchell, finally some good has come from you always thinking with your trousers.
Ballroom jeans from Duluth Trading.
It's a concept I call confident idiocy. To me, it's very funny, along with misguided anger, two of my favorite things. I'm coming on time, I'm going to play you one spot. I heard an author talk once, and he said, comedy is the truth told faster than we're used to. This is a spot where I did for Mountain Dew, and I like subversive advertising.
Diet Dew warns you not to be fooled by a name. Listen carefully.
Looking for something to do this Friday night? The action is at Club Super Fun.
Super fun? How about super lame?
Guys, come to Club Super Fun for the area's hottest single ladies.
Your mom's friends.
And girls, you'll be checking out the parade of cute guys.
More like a police lineup.
And our hourly light show will blow your mind.
The owner's son and a laser pointer.
And when it's time to chow down, our appetizers are always 2 or 1.
Because they're congealed together.
And our chicken
Pigeon.
wings are legendary. The action is at Club Super Fun.
Don't be fooled by a name like the diet in Diet Mountain Dew.
See, I know I'm supposed to be talking about resuscitating comedy and advertising, but I don't really want to rank on advertising. I mean, again, advertising is doing their best, but advertising is increasingly homogeneous. It's just everything's the same. Characters aren't doing what they would do. This is what I talk to. I'll just leave this with 5 points. Fuck likability. I hear from so many goddamn clients, but is he likable? That's not likable. Likable? Well, I think any human being on stage or screen who's doing their best with what they know is immensely likable. Hannibal Lecter was likable, and he ate people. Find your perfect presenter. This is what I talk to writers about. Perfect presenters is just the simplest way to write a spot. Find a character who loves the product or service for the wrong reasons, or hates it for the right reasons. But if you have someone who loves it for the right reasons, that's commercial. Don't sell funny. I tell this to writers all the time. Don't sell funny. Don't start by saying, you're going to laugh at this. I can't tell you how many spots I've sold by at the end go, I don't even know if I should show this to you. No, never mind. This is whacked. And you get them on your side. Don't sell funny. And give up control. Give up control of your characters, of your performances, of your writing, of your directors. Ask yourself, what's next for them? What's logical for this character? And take it to the end of the line. This is where advertising stops. They don't go to the end of the line of the depths and breadths that a human being, however misguided, would go to accomplish what they want. Advertising, if that's the end of the line, advertising in general goes this far. So, wow, that's it. This is where I'm sure I would say something really pithy and important that wraps it all together and blows your mind, and you'd stand up applauding instead of, that's my blog. Thank you for listening. Liz.